Interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, a 90-year-old woman just earned her college degree.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. I know she's a few years behind me in high school.
Yeah.
I think I dated her younger sister.
Oh, let's hope
Could have
a
been
lot
something,
younger.
but
You think she went into the
Well,
transfer
I don't know.
portal at any point?
yeah, at college,
Yeah.
I think she probably went in 3 or 4 times. Yeah, that's great. I think she was a DB at one point. I'm not sure. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Carlos Correa joins the Giants. Alex Ovechkin scores number 800, and Booger McFarland joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with France eliminating Morocco at the World Cup. France scored just 5 minutes into the game and then added a second-half goal to win 2-0. The defending champs now advance to face Lionel Messi and Argentina in Sunday's final. Wilbon, what did you take from today's result?
Well, Tony, it was fascinating to me. First of all, I'm like, I don't know, most of the rest of the world fascinated with Kylian Mbappe. I mean, he seems to be the best player in the world, and even if he's not, let me just watch him. Whoever you want to watch, you can take him. And that Messi is great, and the assist yesterday was wondrous. I'll watch Mbappe, and Giroud for that matter, but I'll watch Mbappe. So I'm glad to see Argentina versus France, the defending champ, the defending World Cup champion, in the final on Sunday. I'm happy to see that, Tony. It seems like a dream final, particularly if you're just checking in to soccer like we do. I'm not watching every single week. I watch more than ever, but not every single week. But, Tony, Morocco was going for it. I mean, they outpossessed France. They had possession 61 minutes. They were going for it, and they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
It seems to me they couldn't create enough quality opportunities. But I'm glad to see the final that we got. How about you?
Yeah, so, I mean, I made it a point to watch the game and get there at the beginning of the game. And then, there's a goal 5 minutes in, and I wrote a note. Well, that was quick, wasn't it? Because for all you know, it's going to be over. And Morocco played hard and all of that. I can't give you any technical stuff. I'm sort of interested in the notion of substitutions because I believe that with substitutions, you can get caught with the wrong guys out on the field in the last 10 minutes of the game. But that's for another day. When you watch a game like this, France, they're a very powerful team.
Yes.
They didn't have that many shots, but the shots that they had seemed to be really high-quality shots. And to get to the final, you get Lionel Messi. This is the Hollywood script. You get Lionel Messi at a late age in the game with a chance for total redemption to make people like you say, well, he could be the GOAT. And he goes against a team that's going for the first repeat in 60 years. I don't know if they're the best teams, Mike, but I suspect it is the best final because I suspect that the team that wins becomes godlike, either Messi or France with the repeat.
Yes,
don't you
Tony.
think?
Yeah, I do. And remember, France is missing 2 of their best players. I mean, even if Mbappe is their best player, they came to the competition without, the MVP of the world this year, at least of Europe. And they're missing 2, missing Pogba as well. So for France, it's powerful. That's a great word to use.
Yeah.
Sunday. So I'm glad it's coming on. There's no conflict with the NFL. The game kicks off at
10
they put
it on
Eastern?
early.
10 a.m. Eastern time?
No, I think it's 9 Eastern. They put it on early.
No, pregame
They do not
at 9,
want to
game at
bleed
10.
into the
Pregame
red
at
zone,
9.
baby.
Yeah,
they do
pregame.
not.
All right. Let's move to baseball. Not football yet, baseball. But the Giants finally landed a big free agent, shortstop Carlos Correa. Leaves Minnesota, just 1 year there, for San Francisco in a deal worth a reported $350 million over 13 years. The Giants had originally focused on Aaron Judge, who ended up returning, of course, to the Yanks. So, Tony, how should the Giants now feel about landing Correa instead of Judge?
How should they feel? They should feel great. They got a great shortstop. He's a great player. That's exactly how you feel. I'm sort of surprised San Diego didn't go after them so they could field a starting 5 of shortstops in San Diego. Look, let's be fair here. It was a long shot the Judge was going to go to the Giants.
Yeah.
They weren't going to be able to outspend the Yankees. And if Judge wanted to go to his hometown team, he would have made that known. So, and I'll tell you this, Mike, and I'm going out, obviously, on a limb on this. I think if you start from right now with the new contract for Judge and the new contract for Correa, that in 8 years' time, I think Correa will have better numbers across the board except for home run numbers. The thing I worry about, and it's the same with Xander Bogaerts, they're going to be paid big money to play shortstop, presumably till they're 41 years old.
Yes,
raise your hand if you think that's a good idea, because I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen, Tony. But can you get the front end? Can you get, in his case, 11? I mean, he's going to be 13 years. He's going to be 41 years old. So can you get 6 or 7 great years out of Correa? And look, Tony, he's going to a place where he's going to be appreciated. He's going to what I think is the most beautiful home stadium in baseball. He's going to a team that now, in its division, enough looking up at the Dodgers, that's bad enough in San Francisco, and they used to not do that earlier in this century. They used to be there 3 times they won the World Series, but now they got to deal with the Padres. So the Padres are spending all this money. They're going for it. The Dodgers automatically go for it because they're the Dodgers. So the Giants are trying to make themselves relevant at the highest level again. And why not go for Correa, who's a great shortstop, who's won 1 Gold Glove and probably a better defensive player than that, award, that one single award suggests. So yes, they did the right thing. But Tony, that seems to be the price of doing business now. You're going to pay 3 or 4 years longer. You're setting up a guy's retirement. It's his pension.
To that point, the big winner in this, other than Correa, obviously, is Dansby Swanson. Because he's sitting there now, and he can put a number on a piece of white paper, and he can show it to the Dodgers and the Braves and the Cubs and the Red Sox and the Twins, and at least one team is going to bite. If I'm Dansby Swanson, I call Freddie Freeman tonight, and I say, how is it in L.A.? Is it good? And then I go there if I'm Dansby Swanson. He's a winner in this one. Alex, we move on. Alexander Ovechkin had a hat trick last night as the Capitals pummeled your terrible Blackhawks 7-3.
Terrible.
Those were goals numbers 798, 799, and 800. Ovechkin is the 3rd player all time to get to 800 goals, joining Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky. Well, about how significant is this milestone?
Very. And early in the year, I told you the Blackhawks were going to stink. And they went like 4-1, and you had the nerve to challenge me on this fine program. Wilbon, what happened to your team?
No, they stink.
Okay, they stink. Now, I think they're dead last. Tony, this is significant. When you join Gordie Howe, I mean, to me, and neither one of these, Ovechkin nor Howe, is Ruthian. They're not Gretzky. But still, if you join Gordie Howe, Howe to me is Henry Aaron. I mean, and when you look at those numbers, just steady, unbelievably steady, if not spectacular, over such a long period of time, more than 20 years. And if you join Gordie Howe, there are no more questions to be asked. Because you're never going to join Gretzky. I don't care about the number. You're never going to have the impact on the game that Wayne Gretzky had. So for Ovechkin to do this, to get to Gordie Howe, is a, my God, spectacular achievement, don't you think?
I do. Gordie Howe also, and I want to get these numbers right, had 174 goals in the WHA.
Yeah.
So his total goals in pro hockey is 975. Ovechkin's not getting there. Whereas Gretzky, who is the best player, although some people think Bobby Orr, as you do, Wilbon.
No.
Gretzky had 46 goals, so a 940 total. So the next time you play golf with the great one, you might want to ask him about that. Look, Ovechkin now is, 94 short behind Gretzky?
Yeah.
And he's 37 years old.
He'll get
and
there.
In the last 3 seasons, he has averaged 40 goals per season.
There.
He's on a pace for 44 now.
Yeah.
He's going to get there.
Yes, he is.
In the end of 2 more seasons or at the beginning of a 3rd more season, he's going to get there. You and I both affirm this, that you cannot equate the most goals with the best player.
No.
But to get to 800, let's look at some hockey players who didn't get to 800. Okay? Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, Bobby Hull, Brett Hull, Phil Esposito, they didn't get there. This is like we had the occasion to see Pujols get to 700, where you join Ruth and Aaron and Bonds. These are tremendous achievements. This is the smallest pocket of rare air there is in these 2 sports, right? It is.
Yes, Tony. And I mean, come on. I mean, goal scoring, you're not going to put anything else above that. You're not, which is why Gretzky is the greatest player of all time, because he's the greatest player and the greatest scorer and the greatest passer. And I know that will get me, and maybe you, a text from Bob Ryan later screaming about Bobby Orr.
He's going to say Bobby Orr. I understand.
Zip it.
It's good.
Zip it.
It's good. Let's take a break.
Zip it.
We love Bob Ryan. Coming up,
love Bob.
How much of a scheduling advantage does Washington have over the Giants? We're going to ask Booger McFarland.
We're also going to ask him about Micah Parsons, wondering aloud how much of Jalen Hurts' success is Hurts and how much is the Eagles. No, this is great for Ovechkin. It really is.
So that's
stunning.
Yes.
Achievement.
Yeah, that's a real big deal. And to get it on a hat trick is a real big deal. Now he's only one behind Gordie Howe, who I think was better than you're giving him credit for.
How is Aaron? How is Aaron? How much better can you get than Aaron?
Let's dig into some NFL issues with our great friend from NFL Primetime and Monday Night Countdown. Today wearing the hell out of a Congaree golf shirt in the low country in South Carolina. I played it. I probably didn't break 100. I never break 100. Mr. Booger McFarland, let's start with this. The Washington Commanders, and I can't tell you how much I hate that name. The Washington Commanders tied the Giants a couple of weeks ago in New York. Then they had a bye, right? So they've had all this time to concentrate on just one team, the New York Football Giants. The Giants didn't have that because the Giants had to play the Eagles last week as a player. How much of an advantage is the Washington schedule?
Yeah, it's a tremendous advantage because usually, Tony, anytime you get a bye week, you get some time off, you get to heal your wounds, you get to go back and watch the previous game. And oh, by the way, the previous game, we're about to play the same team again in the Giants. So it is a huge advantage for Washington. Plus, you got to realize, Washington is such a physical football team. They like to run the ball and knock you upside the head and hit you in the mouth. So that's going to be something that they're going to be able to come out and play a lot more aggressive, a lot more physical. And if you're the Giants, they got to figure out a way to get that boy Saquon Barkley going again, because as he goes, so does their team.
Booger, on Von Miller's podcast, I guess I'm the only person in America who doesn't have a podcast. Micah Parsons wondered aloud how much of Jalen Hurts' success is about the Eagles and how well they're going. What would you say to Parsons about that issue, whether or not it's true?
Well, here's the first thing I say to Micah. Be careful what you say. Don't let your mouth write a check that you're behind can't cash the next time you see Jalen Hurts, because them's almost fighting words, because you're basically saying he's not the MVP, he's not the reason, he's not the straw that stirs the drink. And what I would say to Micah Parsons is really simple. Go back and watch Jalen Hurts against the Buccaneers in the playoff game last year. Watch that guy. Watch how confused he looked. Watch how shell-shocked he looked at the moment. Now you watch him now. He's the MVP in football right now. He's playing at a high level from the pocket. He's playing at a high level outside the pocket. He's made such a drastic improvement from that day in Tampa to where he is now. It's unbelievable. And if you want to list the top 5 quarterbacks in football, you can list any metric you want. Take out Brady, take out Rodgers. You know the names you got to put up in there? You got to put names like Jalen Hurts up in there, because he's playing the quarterback position at a really high level. And something we didn't think. After the season, they're going to have to pay him $250 to $300 million. Woo. And nobody, and I mean nobody, would have ever thought that watching that playoff game in Tampa last year.
Man. The Vikings defense, Booger, has been torched recently. And today, defensive coordinator Ed Donatel says they're going to start playing tighter in coverage. Is that the fix? Is that all it's going to take for the Vikings defense to suddenly get better?
So you mean to tell me that in week 14 in mid-December, 2 weeks before Christmas, all of a sudden now we're going to have an epiphany and let's play tight coverage? That ain't going to work, Mike. Come on, man. Like, they are who they are right now. They are last in the league in passing yards. They're second to last in the league in giving up explosive plays. Like, you can have a field day against this defense. They can't rush the passer. They can't cover anybody on the back end. Simply put, they went from one of the better defenses in the league under Mike Zimmer to now under Kevin O'Connell, one of the worst defenses in football. And as good as that offense is, and I mean it is really good, led by the LSU Tiger, Justin Jefferson, that defense is just as bad. And that'll be the reason when they get into the postseason, people will not fear the Minnesota Vikings.
I will get you out of here on this. I want to make sure I get this right. In beating the Vikings just last week, the Lions, they needed a first down to salt the game away. And they went on a play. They threw the ball to the outside to a big lineman, to a big roly-poly guy, and they made it, and they ran out the clock. When you were a freshman at LSU, I'm told you caught a touchdown pass against Florida. So how does it feel to be a big man catching the ball?
Well, first of all, I'm an athlete, so please address me properly. I'm an athlete that just happens to be big, TK. Okay, so understand that. Now, if you go back to 1995 against the University of Florida, I'm going to walk you through that entire play. We were on the sideline before the play, and coach says, hey, we need a play. We need to score here. And everybody said, hey, who do we need to give the ball to? Let's give the ball to our best athlete, not Kevin Falk, not Eddie Kennison. Let's put Booger McFarland at fullback. And here's the bad thing about that. They tried to have a little cornerback cover me. I gave him a little juke, and I went out to the flat and caught a touchdowns, and that play lives in infamy in LSU lore.
That's great.
Fantastic. Just fantastic.
He hadn't watched
As
that play a
always.
time or two subsequently on video, has he?
Hey, that's one of those things I got on the phone.
Yeah.
On the phone.
Thank
I
you,
love
Booger.
it. Booger, thank you.
you.
Appreciate you.
Anytime.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Celtics lose a big lead, but the Lakers, of course, lose the game.
And it pains me to ask this question, but it must be asked. What's up with the Suns? My goodness. In first
They
place
stink
like 10
at the
days
moment.
ago.
Happy time, people. Happy 57th birthday, Craig Biggio. Long Island's own, Kings Park High School in Suffolk County. Then Seton Hall, where Biggio was a first-round pick of the Astros in 1987. Biggio was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015 after 20 years and 2,850 games, all with the Astros. Biggio was a 7-time All-Star, a 5-time Silver Slugger, a 4-time Gold Glove at second base. Over his career, Biggio hit .281 with 291 home runs, 1,175 RBI, 1,844 runs, and 414 stolen bases. Biggio's most impressive number is 3,060 hits. His son, Kevin, plays for the Blue Jays alongside the sons of Vladimir Guerrero, Vlad Jr., and Dante Bichette, Bo Bichette.
Second all-time in hit by pitches, too, Tony. Started his career as a catcher. But just on the spot, real quick. If you had to choose among modern-day second basemen, captain your team, Joe Morgan, who I know you love, or Craig Biggio?
Love him. Oh, Joe Morgan. I mean, I love Joe Morgan.
I know.
And the Big Red Machine, they got the titles. Houston didn't have titles, I don't believe. Happy anniversary, Lamar Jackson. On this day 2 years ago, the reigning MVP was dealing with cramping in his second game back after COVID when he returned late in the game and led the Ravens to a thrilling road win over the Browns. Jackson took the field inside the 2-minute warning and found Hollywood Brown for a 44-yard touchdown to put the Ravens up 42-35. Then Baker Mayfield led the Browns 47 yards for a score that tied the game, and Justin Tucker, of course, untied it with 2 seconds left. The teams combined for 35 points in the fourth quarter. They combined for 9 rushing touchdowns, tying the NFL record set in 1922. Lamar Jackson is again dealing with injury and reportedly may not play until Christmas Eve.
And Baker Mayfield, who interrupts that highlight, is coming off a lifetime high of a game, at least for the regular season. Who would have thought that, Tony?
That's
Who would
right.
have thought? I just think, he led the Browns to a spot in the playoffs, and now he's 2 teams removed, and
yeah.
we're going, oh my God, he can still play. It might be another commercial in his future.
When you say who would have thought that, you wouldn't have thought that.
No.
Happy trails to the huge Lakers comeback. The Lakers made up what had been a 20-point deficit to Boston in the third quarter last night. They went up by as many as 13 points with just 4:25 remaining, only to fall in overtime after Anthony Davis missed both foul shots with 28 seconds to go, and the Celtics then tied the game in regulation. In other games involving formerly great teams, the Warriors, who Wilbon picked to beat Milwaukee last night, got hammered by the Bucks by 17. Warriors are now 2-12 on the road, and only pathetic Orlando is worse at 0-11. This game featured a yappy fan being thrown out after Draymond Green said the fan made, quote, some threatening things to my life, unquote.
Yeah, well, somebody must have agreed because it looks like they went and got him out of there, Tony. The Warriors situation is interesting. They look great one night and they go on the road and they don't look great. And there's a lot of time left. There's a lot of time left in the season. But at some point, you got to get that straightened out. And Anthony Davis missed a foul shot, and he's been great. Missed a foul shot, though, against Philly that led to a loss.
Yeah.
That made free throw would have won that game, too.
I've said this to you before. I've come over the years to become very partial to Draymond Green.
I know.
I do. I like Draymond Green. I do. One omission, Brock Purdy, your boy, listed as questionable for tomorrow night's game against the Seahawks. Who else do they have at quarterback if he can't play exactly? Let's go to the big finish if we could. The Suns lost their 5th straight last night.
Man.
What gives with you boys?
And their second recent loss to Houston, which is, I guess, dramatically improved. No Devin Booker. I mean, Book being out with a hammy or whatever that is, that's a big praise. A top 5 player this year so far until now. The Sixers scored 80 in the first half of last night's win over the Kings. You impressed?
80's a lot.
80, yeah.
Look, if they're healthy, they got guys who can put up 35 to 40, at least 2 guys. LaMelo Ball, hopeful to return tonight against the Pistons. Is that a big deal?
Yes, he's been out with a left ankle sprain. They can't win without him. He's their best player. They have to have him. An NCAA panel rules Xavier coach Sean Miller will face no sanctions from when he coached Arizona. Your thoughts on that?
I guess I'm a little surprised about that. That was a real big deal, and I think Arizona, they parted ways because of this investigation. I thought they'd come up with something. If not, he could still be at Arizona. Last one, men's college hoops, number 16, UCLA, at number 20, Maryland tonight. Who you got between these future Big Ten rivals?
I got money on our studio suite mate, Scott Van Pelt, having a real good seat, perhaps on the floor. You think we're going to see Scott tonight, a couple of shots of him on that game? I was going to go to that game, Tone, but, they snatched my tickets away. I can't go.
Yeah, just ask Scott for a couple of tickets. His old tickets, like 10 rows up. We're out of time. We'll try and do better next time. Dr. Caleb Kroll, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Everybody's named Caleb now. I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcast. And